I want to go over one of the questions that I often get is how to use AccurioPro Print Manager on the new line of KM products, the C4070, C7100, C7120s, and then be able to, what we've often done, keep jobs and then pull them back either remotely or at the touchscreen. Just to begin with, I want to go over a little bit of the AccurioPro Print Manager. So this is kind of a fiery light interface where I can enter in the IP address of my machine. It'll pop up and say who is joining us today. And in this case, I'll just go ahead and put in my IP address of my demo machine. And you'll see it just a registration. I could say Bob. This is Bob. I'm Bob. And now all of a sudden I will see my jobs. I can do drag and drop into this. I can go into job management and I could say upload, import a job. And I could just drag coloring book over and I'll say open, and it's going to drop that PDF into the file. Very fiery like. At this point, it will stay there. I could call this job back. I could print it. It's going to stay there until I delete that job. Another way is that we often use print drivers. And so in this case, I'm just going to do the typical file print. I'm on a Mac. It would be very similar on a Windows. Your Windows would look a little bit different. For me, I'm going to go into the printer just so that you can see I'm using the KM driver. And I'm going to have a couple options. I can scroll down to printer options, and then I'm going to click the KM interface. I'm going to hit settings. And then I get my very normal driver. I'm going to tell it to come out of tray 1. I can go to workflow, and then I will tell it to, I've got options. I could say hold it, which is going to keep it in there. I could say store on hard drive. I'm just going to choose hold. And then I'm going to hit OK, and OK, and OK, and print, and print. And then my job is going to pop into the KM controller. And you'll see it says ripping. And now the job is there for me to do anything with it. I could use this interface, but the other thing that I often hear is I just want to walk over to the touchscreen. One of the nice new features of the KM is being able to enter your, and this is just the remote interface, is that you now have access to this controller interface on the touchscreen. So you'll see this CNTL button for controller up here. If I click controller, it's going to bring me into this same interface. So this is the physical touchscreen at the device. So now I could go over to the job I just put in there, and I could hit settings. I could change some settings. Once I've created the job, I've saved the job, don't really need to change anything other than maybe this time I want 2 copies. So I can say give me 2 copies, and I could print, and the job will now take off. So you see it's printing. If I go to my machine screen at the touch screen, you'll see the job is at the printer, printing in progress, and it's printing that job. So where we used to store jobs to the hard drive, we would save them to the hard drive. You now have that controller. And then what you're really doing is you're saving it to the controller, which is this button here. And I personally am a fan of plugging a USB mouse into the column on the KM controller. But what this gives you is it's more options, it's more graphical, it's easier to see, but it gives you kind of that fiery light experience in your implants in places that you maybe don't need a full fiery, or fiery's overkill, or it's just too cumbersome. So this interface of being able to hit the controller at the screen, or being able to, at any web browser on the network, punch it in and do it there as well, gives you more flexibility than just storing it to hard drive. So if you want to do a print to file workflow, you just hit the workflow tab, tell it to hold it, and it will be in this queue. Now I could go in here and clean out some of these jobs, and I could delete jobs. I could say I don't want this job there. I can also import a job much more easily than having to go file, print, drop the PDF in there. I can just simply go out, select the PDF, and say I want a tri-panel brochure, and I'll open that, and now that job is in my controller. And then if I go out to the touch screen, you'll see there it is. I can kill that job. I can do all of those things that I would do in the web browser, but I can also do it now at the op panel or the touchscreen. Hope this is helpful.